Kia ora and welcome to Beer Club with me, Luke, at Beer Jerk. This week we are drinking a beer from Yeastie Boys, Prejudice. The first beer we ever drank at Beer Jerk was a beer from Yeastie Boys back in the heady days of early 2015. It was Gonna Matter, a beer that you probably drank. Yeastie Boys are one of the most important developments in New Zealand, and New Zealand really embracing this whole new world of craft beer. They really shook things up when they kicked off back in the late noughties. I think it was 2008 when they started releasing beers as Stu and Sam. They were contract brewing out of Invercargill for a long time, but very much based in Wellington. Both working completely different worlds. Stu was I'm not exactly sure what his job was. It's something to do with data and analysis and the New Zealand health, but clearly fancied a bit of a change, and he loved flavour and just developing delicious things. So rather than becoming a chef, got into brewing and started releasing really quite revolutionary beers at the time. So Gonna Matter was a really iconic beer, beautiful branding and name inspired by such a good song, and a lovely IPA made with lots of Earl Grey tea, which is just a combination that went so perfectly. And it's it's one of those great things where it is a novel beer. It's remarkable, it's interesting, but also a beer that can be every day. It's not going to alienate too many people, so it's just that right level of interest and weirdness, but without being too crazy. And their Pot Kettle Black again was another huge beer from those early days. It was a South Pacific Porter or a black IPA. There were lots of sort of arguments and debates over what it was, but a very hoppy black beer. And then through the years, they'd always just release really interesting beers, really interesting concepts, interesting artwork. It is Stu's partner, Fritha, that does all of the awesome branding and artwork for their labels. They did an amazing series of 4 beers once, which had these really strange black and white drawings of people's faces that I think were maybe from a yearbook photograph that Fritha saw, and they were called things like The Darkness of Noon, and they're His Majesty and Her Majesty series that came out every year. We're all something to really look forward to, and these big, beautiful bottles. I've got a great memory after Beervana one year. So Beervana for brewers and that work is pretty exhausting. It's all the setup and preparation, and then just a couple of really long days, just chatting to people all day. It's so loud in there. So by the end of it, you just really want to go and have a few beers and get together with all the people that have all come together from all over the country. So of course it ends up being a late night, and then you're working again the next day. So pretty exhausting. But yeah, I remember being in some upstairs bar with Stu after the second day of Beervana. So everyone's really knackered and exhausted, and chatting to a bunch of his old Wellington friends, and there was this guy who was a bit of a dickhead. Maybe he was like a boyfriend of one of Stu's friends, or maybe he was just a guy that was also in the bar, and he was chatting to me, and he was saying, "Oh, the thing with craft beer though, it's just bullshit, isn't it? Like what you're drinking probably isn't that different to what I'm drinking. It's just like they make it a little bit more hoppier, but it's just all just trendy, isn't it? The craft beer nonsense." And Stu heard this guy talking to me, and he knew that Stu and I were both drinking the same beer, which was Hell's a Poppin' from Yeastie Boys. And Stu said, "Oh, why don't you have a taste of this beer and see what you think?" And Hell's a Poppin' was a smoked chili ale that did not hold back on either the smoke or the chili. It was like jalapenos that have been barbecued, such a full-on spicy flavour. And just the look on this dickhead's face, just to have this beer, it was like, "Oh yeah, that doesn't taste like my Peroni." Yep, fair enough. So yeah, I think with that culinary background has really inspired so many of their beers, and just what you can make into a beverage, which brings us to beers like this. That's a beer that tastes like ginger biscuits. And I mean, we've really got 10 minutes, and the guys from Yeastie Boys aren't here, so I'll only tell you some parts of the story. But yeah, one day I would love to to read the story of Yeastie Boys, because it's such an interesting one, and of course we only know certain parts, so I'd love to know what's happened. And so Yeastie Boys were they made huge headlines when they raised $500,000 in 33 minutes. They were the first brewery to crowdfund in probably Australia and New Zealand. And a lot of people got behind it. They could have raised a heck of a lot more with that crowdfund, which I think they probably wish they had, because it's pretty expensive to launch a multinational brewing company, which is exactly what they went and did. So because they contract brew, they didn't own their own brewery, so the same as many breweries like Batch, like Small Gods, Garage Project only brew a small percentage of their beers at the actual garage. Most of their beers are contract brewed. So Yeastie Boys had the great scalability that they could go overseas. So they started brewing in Australia and brewing in Britain. They started brewing at Brewdog for years, and just it grew hugely. They grew sevenfold in the first few years. And we're chatting to Stu in the first year or two, and saying that in Tesco's alone, they sell more cans of Big Mouth IPA in Tesco than all of the beer that they sell in New Zealand over the course of a year. So obviously it's a much bigger market, but things have continued to change. So of course they didn't brew at Brewdog for long, and they've moved to work with different production partners. And reading recently that they're no longer selling Tesco's, and now that the vast majority of Yeastie Boys beer is sold in kegs in pubs rather than in cans in Britain. So huge changes, and just recently Stu stepped away a bit, and he's doing his. He's recently launched a distribution company for beer with Yeastie Boys. Of course, he's still co-founder and shareholder and things. But yeah, what's happening with Yeastie Boys in New Zealand is that we don't get to see many Yeastie Boys beers around, and certainly we don't get to see many new releases coming out. So the brand continues to be run here by the lovely guys from Morningsider that look after things locally. So it's still owned by Yeastie Boys, the multinational in Britain and New Zealand. But the lads at Morningsider look after operations here. So yeah, the beers are contract brewed. So same great recipes as always, but I suppose it doesn't have the complete focus and clarity and energy of those glorious days of 2015 when we started Beer Jack, and we first got those Yeastie Boys beers out to you guys. So when Tim from Morningsider said that they'd brewed Prejudice, which was a biscuit inspired beer, I thought absolutely perfect to share it with you wonderful people all over New Zealand that may not have got to try it yet. So Prejudice is they say it's a ginger biscuit IPA. I'm going to call nonsense on that. Purely because lots of brewers just attach the word IPA to the end of whatever they're calling the style as almost an interchangeable three letters when it should say ale or beer, because this beer was not brewed to the style of an IPA at all. It is first and foremost a ginger biscuit beer. It's a beer that tastes like ginger biscuits, and that's what it's been built around, and no one needs to apologise for that. It's not a mashup. You haven't got the bitterness of the IPA, so just ignore that it says IPA. Sorry, Yeastie Boys, if you're watching this and disagree with me, but for me, yeah, it's a lovely malty ale, and it's a combination of those two things. It's fun because it tastes like a ginger nut biscuit that are a big part of my childhood in England, and I think in New Zealand people love ginger nuts as well. And yeah, biscuits are delicious. Go well with cups of tea, of course. So probably a good 1-2 to have a Gunnamatta Earl Grey IPA alongside this. And kind of easy, well, not easy, but kind of an obvious thing to recreate in a beer, because a beer can use all the same ingredients as biscuits, really. You've got your lovely maltiness and your malt body, and you can put whatever herbs and spices you feel like in a beer. As I often talk about, the idea of the Reinheitsgebot in Bavaria, and that you can only have 4 ingredients in a beer, is really quite a new thing just the last few hundred years. So historically, brewers all over the world have used all kinds of botanicals, herbs and spices in beer. So yeah, the ginger biscuit spices that you've got in here are just coming through beautifully. It's kind of the perfect combination for a culinary inspired delicious beer. So I do need to have a proper catch up with the guys down at Morningside, just down the road from us on the Auckland Beer Mile, and find out what plans are for Yeastie Boys. I'd love to see lots more happening with them. And it is quite, I think a lot of you watching along will feel a little bit, it's just lovely to reminisce about those days and how different those days are. You know, sometimes we talk about how craft beer is on the downturn. People aren't as excited so much these days. Everything has been done, and it really was in 2008, certainly when these guys started, and all through the 20 teens. That if you've released a beer that was a ginger biscuit beer, that would be remarkable and would get news. And thinking back even more recently to things like the Whittaker's Garage Project chocolate beer that they released was a really big deal. But these days, just because everything has been done, I think people are a bit less impressed. People are a little bit jaded, and that's a little bit sad, I suppose, because you can't carry on doing things once you put glitter in a beer. That is, maybe that was the moment when the shark was jumped, when glitter beer became a thing. But I'll also certainly love beers that show innovation, show creativity, show something that's unique, that's different, and just gives you just a lovely experience to just be sitting at home drinking something that is a little bit different. And I hope that all of you people drinking along at home are the same. Of course you are. You signed up to a bloody craft beer subscription club. The excitement and the passion that goes into these things, it's wonderful to see that reflected from drinkers that really enjoy drinking stuff like this. So yeah, I mean, not a lot to say. It's a beer that tastes like ginger biscuits. They set out with a clear goal in mind and knocked it out of the park, which is always a really wonderful thing to see brewers achieve. So here's to Yeastie Boys. Thanks for the amazing memories. Thanks for being so important, so instrumental in the development of beer in New Zealand and just supporting the culture of beer. And long may it continue in whatever format it does take. So hopefully we will see more interesting Yeastie Boys releases happening here, and not just one or two a year that pop up, because they are invariably very, very good beers. Hey, thank you for joining us. See you next time. Cheers.